18 balance changes came out in Brawl Stars right now. I'm gonna go over them for you, tell you who the new best and worst brawlers are, what the meta is gonna look like, but these might be some of the best balance changes we've had in a long time. Let's do it. Alright, and by the way, if you're wondering, the gameplay is from actually before the balance changes. Supercell gave me a heads up on what the changes were going to be. Now, I do want to say, though, it's potential that one or two of the changes might be slightly different from what's live in-game. And if there are any changes, I'll let you know down below in the comments. Basically, we gave them some feedback, and they're saying, okay, maybe we'll take it into consideration. But I'll let you know. There's one I have in mind that it could be. But there's 4 brawlers who got nerfed, 6 brawlers who got buffed, and for the most part, I really agree with a lot of these changes. So let's go over them, starting out with the nerfs and what the new meta is going to look like. Starting out with what brawler that was the most obvious that needed a nerf? Sandy, the strongest brawler in the game. Wasn't really close. Sandy got 2 nerfs. First off, a big nerf to Rude Storm's star power, the damage going all the way down from 200 damage per second to 40, which is an insane 80% damage reduction. So clearly the purpose of this star power is now completely different. It's no longer used to damage multiple brawlers at the same time. If you hit a couple brawlers with 200 damage per second for a couple seconds, that's a lot of damage. And now it's basically going to be used to stop people from healing and to scout out and find enemies in the bush, just as far as the star power is concerned anyways. The other nerf, though, is to the super, making it go from 5 hits to charge to 6, 20% increase. Both of these, I think, are great nerfs. Now, Sandy's second star power, the healing one, is incredibly strong, so I'm a little surprised that one didn't get nerfed considering Root Storms did, but Sandy got nerfed overall. Still gonna be probably S-tier brawler, but we'll see if Sandy's the best brawler in the game. So there's another brawler that got buffed that might be. Alright, BB also got a nerf, was number 4 in my ranking tier list. 2 nerfs actually, a small one to her health, about 2.3% decrease, going from 4,400, 4,200. Also got a decrease to her best star power batting stance with the shield damage reduction going from 40% to 30%. So BB is probably no longer gonna be a top 5 brawler, really probably a top 10, but still a definitely good brawler. The health nerf, barely that noticeable, right? And the other one to her star power. So basically now both of her star power is gonna be pretty equal in how much you play them, but BB's still a relatively really strong brawler, not really that big of a nerf overall. Now Primo's also getting a nerf, but it's not that big of one. It's really his star power. Meteor Rush goes from a 5-second increase in speed to a 4-second increase in speed. 20% reduction, but just in the time, not in the amount of speed. So really not gonna impact him that much. It was definitely a really good star power. Not too surprised that it's nerfed. Not gonna impact the Primo too much. He's probably a little sad though. Moving on, Tick, the most annoying brawler in the game, got 2 nerfs and a bit of a rework as well. First off, the duration of his mini mines now doesn't last as long. Used to last 2 seconds, now it's 1.6, 20% reduction in how long they stay on the ground if no one trips them or until they disappear, essentially. The other thing though is now they have a smaller explosion radius by 6%. So those are 2 pretty solid nerfs to Tick. And that's definitely going to impact him. Basically, now I think he's going to be really similar with Barley as far as how much playtime either of them get. But he also got a change to the pattern his shots have. They now have a fixed pattern every single time we throw them. I'll put it on the screen. It's basically a slightly rotated triangle, which I actually think is a great overall pattern. And I actually think this is also, in a way, a very slight nerf to his overall range, because now you can't have 2 mines at the furthest point of his range. It's now always only going to be 1 mine at the furthest point, and his range can be pretty long with that 1 mine, so now it's potentially not quite as suffocating. So Tick, definitely decent amount worse, maybe a top 10 brawler still. It's gonna be probably borderline for Tick. Now into the buffs. 6 brawlers got buffs, a lot of them really bad, but one of them, actually, I had the second best brawler in the game, and that's Piper. Piper is getting a huge buff to her ambush star power, which admittedly was hardly used because snappy sniping, even though it got nerfed twice, is still a really good star power and was her best one, but it might not be anymore because ambush is going from a maximum of 500 extra damage in a bush, but at max range, to 800. So if you're at max range with Piper in a bush, you will now do an extra 800 damage per shot. Now, if you're not in a bush, you don't get anything, and if you're not at max range, it's going to be less. But 800 damage in one shot, an extra, is a lot, and it's look, on any really grassy map, this is automatically her best star power. This is a huge buff to ambush. Piper was already number 2, maybe the best brawler in the game now over Sandy. Definitely has the possibility, but you do need her, both of her star powers. Probably the most star power reliant brawler in the game, potentially, but this next brawler had a really good star power, and his weak one just got buffed, and that's Mortis. Cold Snake did get nerfed, still really good star power, but Creepy Harvest just got a big buff, going from a healing amount of 1400 to 1800, almost a 30% increase for Mortis and Creepy Harvest, and that's actually an insane amount of healing. Almost 2,000 health for every kill he gets. In any 3v3 game mode, this might be Mortis's best star power now. It's gonna be a little questionable. In solo showdown, duo showdown, definitely still taking Coiled Snake just because of the survivability for it as far as escaping. But in 3v3 game modes, if you get a kill, this allows you to be so much more aggressive. You can stay alive and you can go after that next kill. And if you get it, all of a sudden you're in a really good spot because you heal up so much after any kill. Now, Gene is also getting a star power buff. For him, it goes to Magic Puffs, going from 200 healing per second to 300 healing per second. So obviously a 50% increase for him. I mean, this is a pretty solid increase, especially in any 3v3 game mode. This might be his best star power. Now we'll have to see, but his other star power, the damage one, is a really solid star power for Gene. It makes him a very threatening brawler. So in this case, he's gonna now definitely be in a better healing sort of role, and especially the combo of Pam and Gene together in Bounty used to be a very fearsome combo because it'd be really hard to get kills, and maybe we'll see that come back again. You never know. Jessie, one of the worst brawlers in the game, also got some buffs. She got 2. One to her main attack damage. Not a big buff, a 2.4% increase in the amount of damage her main attack does, so she's happy to get that. Not a huge deal for her, but cool regardless. But also, her turret Scrappy got a damage buff as well. This one a little bit better, 8.3% for Jessie's turret. So her turret's pretty happy about that one. This is definitely gonna help Jessie out somewhat. She's probably no longer a bottom 5 brawler, but she's probably not that much higher. Now Tara is also getting 2 buffs as well. She's also getting a damage buff to her main attack, but this one is a lot stronger, 10.5% increase to the amount of damage Tara's main attack can do if all 3 cards can hit. So that's really big for Tara. Over 10% is a really solid buff to damage. There's not many times you see over a 10% damage buff. It does definitely happen, and it's not crazy, but this will definitely help Tara out. I do think this was kind of neat for her. I would have liked to see her supercharged slightly faster because she's still going to be so dependent on that super, but at least if she doesn't have her super, she can do a little bit more damage and help her win some more fights that way. But also, her first star power, Black Portal, the shadow little pet thing for that, is now going to do a good amount more damage, from 400 damage per hit to now 600 damage per hit. So, I mean, 50% increase to the amount of damage that little shadow does. So, kind of solid. Again, though, Tara's super is already incredibly strong, and increasing the damage will help out her super do more damage as well. Now, Crow is getting 3 buffs. He's getting a buff to his main attack and his super attack. Almost a 7% increase in the amount of damage both of those are going to do, and I think those are great buffs for Crow. I definitely always felt like he was always lacking in the damage department. Always an annoying brawler, but he just sort of felt like more of a tickler than a big threat. Unless maybe he had Carrying Crow, but without Carrying Crow, big problem. But speaking of his other star power, Extra Toxic, that got a buff going from a 13% reduction in the amount of damage to 16%. Again, I think this was a good buff as well. I think it really wasn't ever that big of like a difference. You never really felt that impacted when you were under the effect of Extra Toxic. It was never like, oh, I really want to avoid it so I don't get less damage. I mean, you never wanted to get poisoned, but it was really about not wanting to get poisoned. So this is a good buff for Crow. Check out some amazing mini games you should definitely try out in Brawl Stars right over there. But that is going to be it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you later.